First card is Temperance, so a Sagittarius might be involved somehow. We also have King of Cups, which could be Scorpio, Strength, which could be Leo, and that's all I'm seeing. We also have your card later on, and it's in reverse. Okay, so first with Temperance, this talks about finding balance, healing yourself, because, you know, that little symbol on the head, you know, is usually reminiscent of what doctors would wear. And then this triangle in the middle is a symbol of a healer. So you've taken some time out to heal yourself and balance yourself, especially emotionally, when it comes to love. It's right next to the Two of Swords in reverse. So when I see these together, it says you shut everything out to heal yourself. That whatever relationship you had, it's like you made a definite decision with the Two of Swords in reverse, and it's like over. Okay, like you're not hiding or pretending about this love. You know, like this person was false, they were disloyal, and you know that it's over. If you're on the fence right now for some reason, this is telling you that it's done and you need to make that decision. Okay. Also, it says, you know, love you're loving yourself, or you need to. Yeah, that's what I really see right there. See if there's anything else. Also, I see here about not communicating with her arms crossed over her chest. So it's saying, you know, if you're not communicating with someone, then that's not a relationship, okay? Or you just can't get in touch with somebody. And you're trying to balance yourself out because you're like, this is driving me nuts. It's making me defensive and neurotic. And it says you either are or you need to be content with not being intimate with this person. It says the advice is be detached and don't reciprocate. You're just going to be single for a little while. It could be because you're afraid to get close to this person. They could be what people so endearingly call a fuckboy. I'm not sure, but that's kind of what I see here. If somebody's not talking to you and you have to be detached, that's what I would think would happen. And so it says, you know, you're shutting everything out, so you don't have to talk to this person, and you can gain some confidence again because this relationship was just stifling who you were. All right, moving on. To clarify the Two of Swords in reverse, we got Queen of Cups in reverse. Queen of Cups is somebody who's isolated, okay? You may not want to be isolated, but you are, okay? And it says, you know, you were emotionally unstable, because here she's the master of her emotions, and here not so much. It says probably codependent on somebody, and you're deprived of someone. And again, here, you know, we had somebody who's false and dishonest and disloyal, and here in reverse it says dishonest. But this is supposed to be reminiscent of you. So it could be that you were dishonest with somebody and you cut off ties, or they cut off ties with you and you can't get in touch with them to apologize. Something's happened, okay? And there's no communication going on. And this says you have to detach emotionally, and so did these two together. So it's just crazy that we have to do that. It says somebody's an undependable dreamer, and your feelings were stifled. Again, we have stifling. Just lacking intuition, being suspicious and moody and secretive, and just being an emotional wreck, and you might be vindictive. Okay, so here this is saying, you know, you need to try to balance yourself and detach emotionally from this person. That's crazy how those go together so well. And then the next card is Ten of Pentacles in reverse. This talks about a bad investment, or just somebody's not invested. Maybe somebody's passive or just uninterested. I don't know if that's you or the other person. Usually in my experience, the person who's reading is the one who's interested. Okay. But this just says, you know, you have to be detached and this person's not interested, or you need to stop being interested in them. It says, this relationship is missing stability. It doesn't have the foundation to start. And again, it's talking about restricting self-expression. It's a restricting relationship. Somebody may have been really controlling. And it's just like a burden. Yeah, that's what I see for this. Clarifying the Ten of Pentacles in reverse. Also, just, this is like a happy relationship, and here it's over, or it's just not happy. Clarifying that, we have Page of Wands in reverse. Okay. Now, when you have this in a reading with Temperance, which you had at first, it talks about you're going to avoid some mindless pleasure, and it's going to bring you the youth and vitality of the page. And this means like transforming powers. Okay. So with that Temperance, this is what you're going to do. Also, you have your card, the Hermit, as an overall, which you'll see at the end. And it talks about your hobbies are going to isolate you. Okay. Basically, we have instability, not communicating or miscommunication. Just those types of things. Like you won't be dating. You're not even waiting for news from somebody. You're just dead. Okay. And it could be somebody who's older than you, because here we have the Page, and this is a young person, and it's in reverse. And later on, we have the King of Cups, and it's upright. So this tells me the person's not young, they're older than you. Okay, probably quite a bit. But basically, this is the only wand card you have. So basically, there's no passion at all in this relationship. Like you're almost like foregoing any kind of sexual excitement. Okay. Next, we have the Hanged Man, and he's in reverse. So this talks about hanging on to a relationship well past its expiration. It could be you just can't be bothered to do anything about it. But it's talking about reflecting on this relationship if you're currently in one. But see, I don't know why you would, because it's singles readings, but we're just reflecting on this relationship that maybe you were in the past, or the one that you want, but you're not dating, you're not in a relationship as far as officially, but if you have some kind of connection with this person, it's a relationship. All right, so reflecting on this relationship might bring in some scary insight that you're not willing to face, and you're just losing faith in life. But this says, be optimistic, because this phase you're going through is almost over. Okay. And again, you just have to balance yourself. And it looks like that's what you're doing. To clarify the Hangman in reverse, we have Six of Swords in reverse. So this tells me you have to be persistent through this temporary difficulty. You're going to have to work hard to overcome it. You may even seek counseling to solve the issue. I wish I knew what the issue was. But the troublesome phase isn't over yet. It will be, okay, but it's not yet. You don't really have any peace right now. It could be that, you found out your love interest doesn't really care about you. It could be, like I said, a fuck boy, or just somebody who's hot and cold. It says, they have no feelings for you. They're totally gone. They cancel even thinking about you. And it says, you can't get in touch with this person. Maybe you need some kind of communication to heal, but it's painful. But this says also, just like the Hanged Man too, get some distance to get some perspective about the situation, or about something in yourself that you might need to change. Because this says you're defensive and neurotic. It says you're going to have to leave a person or a situation behind to break the obsession or the bondage. Okay. But basically, any communication you have with this person is going to be peaceful. It's going to be painful, because you're going to need that to hear it to heal. All right. With the Hanged Man and Strength, here it says, you're not controlling your thoughts right now, but you need to. Okay, so control your thoughts. Admitting that you're afraid of what you might find when you reflect is going to give you the strength to actually not be afraid. And it's okay to be scared of things, right? And when you acknowledge it, acknowledgement's going to keep it under control. So I'd be worried if it was like this, but it's not. So acknowledging all this pain and fear is going to keep it under control. Clarifying strength. Got Queen of Pentacles. All right. So this is a woman. Once you acknowledge you're fearful, it's going to give you the strength to overcome it, and you won't be fearful anymore. Because here, this is somebody who's in fear. This is somebody who's mistrusting. We had some neurotic stuff going on and mistrust. Okay. But here, this is somebody who's just kind of in suspense. And here, this is somebody who's in suspense, and they get out of it. Okay. So you're just kind of, this is somebody who's in suspense, they mistrust, they're in fear, they can't relax. Okay. And then here, this is what you get after the strength card. So this goes with it. You're going to be strong. You're going to be successful. You're going to be secure. You're going to be free, because she represents liberty. So you're going to be free. But you put up some boundaries. Like, you're going to assess people shrewdly, and you only want long-term relationships, and you're going to make sure that people know that. And they have to go through a test to win your heart and your loyalty, because somebody's hurt you. Okay. You're going to be down to earth. You're going to be prosperous in very different ways. Okay. Then, we had King of Cups upright. This talks about being emotionally balanced. And I'm not sure why you're represented by water here. So you must have a lot of water in your chart, or you're just very emotional. So at the beginning, you're Queen of Cups, very emotionally unstable. And you turn out to be King of Cups, which is emotionally stable. Okay. So that's really clear cut there. But just thinking about, the King of Cups, he weighs pros and cons. He's very, how would you say, objective. And he can have diplomatic moments with people. He's just fulfilled and peaceful, and he can solve relationship issues easily. And again, he could find passionate love when he wants to. But when he doesn't need to, or if it's not good for him, they don't fit his standards, well, then he can have neutral feelings about them. So that's really good. To clarify that, we got Knight of Pentacles. This tells me that you're mature and responsible, that you're peaceful, you're tranquil. Okay, so both of these people are tranquil. And he's clarifying the King of Cups. And it also says that if you have a love, you're going to be quiet about it. And a stranger might be interested in you, but they're not taking any action because they see kind of what you're going through. And they have unwavering devotion toward you, or to you, them. But this says, you're going to be very, very cautious. So whoever this is going to have to be patient, because you plan on going slow and holding back. You don't want to totally invest in somebody and get emotionally unstable again. Like, you don't want to go through this whole reflection process again. So remember, you're going to go slow, make them pass the tests, have them earn the loyalty, because again, somebody was disloyal and false, and it just sent you through the ringer. And you've been working really hard on healing yourself and balancing yourself, and you even had to shut everything out to do it. So you've kind of been the hermit all this time, which is your card. That's so funny. And at the very end, you get Hermit in reverse. Okay, so this is what you've been through the whole reading. You've taken time out to self-reflect. You've you've curtailed the party life, like with Temperance. Okay, you've curtailed the party life. In fact, with the Hermit and Temperance together, the Hermit is sobriety, Temperance is moderation and alcohol, and together they both mean healing. Just chilling, taking some time out. Could be, developing a close friendship with someone, possibly the person who hurt you, or just, getting to know yourself. Now, I thought it was strange that he was in reverse, because this is talking about, being so focused on the truth. If somebody was false and hurt you, I wouldn't focus on the truth anymore, because obviously they didn't care enough about you to even talk about it. So I would just let it go. This says, the whole time, you've probably been feeling scared to be vulnerable. And it's okay to be scared to be vulnerable, but you still have to do it anyway. And this says, you need to return to strength. Well, strength is in your reading. So when you get that, okay, you're going to turn him upright. But also I see this as, by the end, you've been like this, self-reflecting, coming out isolated, and then it's going to say, time to come out and apply the knowledge that you learned. So come out of hiding. Okay, you've been concealed and lonely and fearful and cautious, and you need to come out. Okay. Because with the Hanged Man, it says you may be feeling needless guilt over a past that somebody else has forgotten. So maybe you were the person who was dishonest with somebody, okay? And you're like, I need to work on myself. And that's not necessarily true for all of you. In fact, I don't think it is. This reading is just so clear-cut. I mean, you got your own card as the end, the overall. You may have been avoiding problems. But this says it's possible to rekindle a past romance. And since this is a love reading, I wouldn't rekindle the romance because you're afraid of being alone, like this might suggest. It just says, talk to your partner, give them attention, ask their insight. But you no longer have to take a break. You can come out. Okay. Now, I pulled some Romance Angel Oracle cards. The first one is playfulness. Okay. So these are the things you can do once you come out, or they'll help you come out. Recapture romance. Allow your inner youthful spirit of fun to shine. Just be happy and playful, okay? That's an emotion that's okay to come out. Then we have children. It says your love life's being affected by children. Now, for some of you, it might be. But for others of you, it might just be acting childlike, being happy and carefree. The next one is getting to know each other. So if one of you hurt another person, or one of you hurt the other, depending on who it is, you may have to get to know each other all over again. Or you may get to know somebody new. Yeah, and reveal your innermost selves to each other, and your bond will deepen. And the thing is, if you get to know somebody, whether it's somebody you already know or somebody new, whoever it is going to be your soulmate. So yay. I was wondering when I was going to get any kind of love stuff in here. I mostly have solitude and getting your emotions under control.